Are we still in, everyone? Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. We good? All right, cool.
All right, good morning. I'm New York City Controller Brad Lander. I'm here this morning with City Council Member Tiffany Caban, who was upstairs this morning with State Assembly Member Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, and with City Council Member Shahana Hanif. What we watched again today is just a deeply dehumanizing process. I did not get arrested or detained today, but we saw 3 people removed by the same non-uniformed masked ICE agents who gave no reason for their removal, who ripped them out of the arms of escorts. In a proceeding that bears no resemblance to justice, in which none of them were given an opportunity to speak to the credible fear that they have of persecution if deported back to their countries. In one case, we witnessed a family separation, and that's what happened. There was a couple. The judge at first put their cases together and said that the case would be transferred over to Newark. And then when the government moved to dismiss the case against the husband, granted it without any dialogue or conversation. And his wife is pregnant and just watched her husband get ripped away by ICE agents. They have the identical case. The judge had said to them, they crossed at the border at the same time. They have the same reason for fearing persecution. It is an entirely arbitrary system that is designed to stoke fear and dehumanize in pursuit of Donald Trump's effort to deport millions of people and with no due process whatsoever. And I'm grateful that all the cameras are here, but this is happening every single day in our courts right now, whether elected officials are here or not. That families who did everything the right way, who checked in when they crossed the border, who showed up for their hearing dates, are still being denied due process, had a mockery of their rights to make an appeal, and are then detained with no notice about where they will be. We're hearing that people are being held in 26 Federal Plaza for 5 or 6 days in a building that has no beds, that was not designed for detention, where they won't allow members of Congress to come and do oversight, that the ICE locator that is supposed to help family members find people is not working, that most folks don't have lawyers, and that is traumatizing and separating families. My wife is currently with that pregnant woman who just lost her husband, and my daughter with a separate family from Liberia whose private immigration attorney didn't show up, and who thankfully was granted a continuance until December. But it is a deeply traumatic, evil place upstairs. It is not justice, and it's a shame right now on the United States of America. So I want to let the council member and the assembly member talk to what they saw, and then I'll say a couple of more things, because I do think we saw one thing today that is something that New York City and New York State can do in these hideous situations. But let me introduce the council member and the assembly member, and I'll come back.
Yes, good morning. My name is Tiffany Caban. I'm a council member of the 22nd District in Queens. I'm also an attorney. I spent the first part of my professional career practicing law right up the street at 100 Center. I want to just take a couple of minutes to describe just one of the cases that I saw today. Our comptroller talked about the dehumanization, and it starts before you even get through the door. There are judges in that building, and some are there. Took an oath, and by their own best efforts or the way that they perceive it, they are trying to do what they're supposed to. And there are other judges that are seeing the opportunity to perpetuate the things that we're seeing out in our communities, to perpetuate that dehumanization. I was in one particular courtroom where the judge was particularly unkind and disrespectful to folks, didn't want people coming into the room and observing, tried to get us to leave, and then was a lot nicer once he figured out that we were elected officials there to observe. And that's not new. I've known many a bully judge as my time as a public defender. But if you can imagine that is how citizens are being treated when they are publicly available to go view these proceedings, the kind of sentiment that they are bringing and engaging with these cases that are literally life and death for the folks that are making these petitions. So in this one case, and it is the case where the family was separated, like was mentioned by the comptroller, a husband and wife entered into the country at the same time, fearing persecution. Wife had to be in her third trimester, and initially the judge did enjoin those cases, put them together so that they are one. There was an application for the case to be removed, to be transferred to New Jersey because that is where they are living. And as soon as the judge learned that the attorney, the DHS attorney, was going to be moving to dismiss just one of the cases, right? And he said, we should be putting your cases together. You're married, you came at the same time, your family, we're going to enjoin them. And then all of a sudden, because the DHS attorney decided that they wanted to dismiss one of the pre-existing cases and not the other, there was a reason to decouple the cases. So those cases were legally decoupled, and they were removed. The second case that I want to talk about.
I just want to say there, I mean, what that is a family separation.
Yes,
like
without
the
a doubt.
judge ordered a family separation, and ICE implemented it with absolutely no reason. There's no difference between their two cases. When we talk about the cruelty of what's going on upstairs, like, we watched an arbitrary family separation for no legal reason whatsoever, executed by a judge and then by ICE agents.
And the last thing I want to talk about is just, well, then what is the legal reason that Trump's DHS is giving in these cases? Because they didn't have an attorney, and so I sat in another courtroom, and there was an individual who did not speak English, but he did have an attorney present virtually. There was no interpreter available to him, so his attorney wasn't able to interpret. There was nobody there to explain what was going on to him. But the DHS attorney made that motion to dismiss the case, and as his attorney should, she argued against it. She didn't want the judge to dismiss the case. She gave a lengthy argument saying why the dismissal should be denied. And then when it was the government's turn to give their reason that this case should be dismissed, they said, well, there are changed circumstances, and this is in the best, we get to decide what's in the best interest of the United States. Didn't name what those changed circumstances were, and I think we'd all be here agreeing with the fact that we don't think that these removals, these deportations, are in the best interest of the United States. In fact, it makes us less safe. We're better when we're together, when we keep families together here in the country. So I just wanted to point out that the legal argument for removing folks is essentially non-existent. It's just because we said so. So I appreciate you all being here, and I'll pass it over to the Assembly member.
Good afternoon, everyone. What we witnessed in this courtroom was not justice. We witnessed family separation. We witnessed a woman crying as her husband was being torn, as we were all holding his arms, as ICE agents with their masks up to their eyes tore him apart. We witnessed a young man who said he did not speak English. They said, what is your language of preference? And then proceeded not to provide any translation services. This is not justice. This is not democracy. This is fascism. The way the ICE agents are coming in and just taking people when they have an opportunity to appeal. They were all given opportunities to appeal, and yet ICE agents came in as we peacefully escorted these folks out of the courtroom. I just got word this morning in my neighborhood in Jackson Heights, one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the world, that there were ICE agents and FBI agents in the streets. That is not justice. That is creating a climate of fear, of intimidation, and it is not acceptable. And I'm so proud to stand here with fearless elected officials that are ready to go inside and defend our New Yorkers. These are New Yorkers. We had to comfort a woman and her child. She fell on the floor because she was shaking. She just watched person after person being escorted out by ICE. This is not justice. We have to fight. This is not normal. We cannot accept this as normal. We need leaders that are going to stand up to Trump. We need to pass the Access to Representation Act. We need to pass New York for All. We need to prevent the collusion between local law enforcement and ICE, because they say it's not happening, but it is. So I'm grateful for my colleagues here and all the volunteers. Let me tell you how many volunteers We're here. We had folks from Make the Road New York. We had folks from Jews for Racial and Economic Justice just volunteering their time to comfort families that are being torn apart. So we're here together in unity to say no more. We will fight this administration. We will not accept the continual authoritarian tactics that we're seeing across this city and state. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And the three of us were in 290 Broadway, while Councilmember Hanif was court watching here at 26 Federal Plaza. Essentially the same kinds of dockets in both buildings. Councilmember, you want to talk about what you saw?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilmember Shahana Hanif, and I was born and raised in Kensington, huge Bangladeshi immigrant community, now experiencing the fear of potentially being picked up by watching what's happening on TV, by seeing a lack of leadership in our mayor, refusing to say anything that would be empowering and show that we are a safe city for immigrants. At 26 Federal Plaza, what was very glaring to me is the need for legal services. The legal services representation is so incredibly urgent. And with Comptroller Lander, we have been calling for, and including in very recent days, for $170 million for legal services. Every family should have access to an attorney. There is no reason that the city cannot provide that. This city can do that. So my urge is that we look to funding more legal services. Take this very seriously. The stories we heard, these are not myths. These are real people who live in our city. They are our neighbors. Our kids go to school with their kids. Standing up is what's right, and pushing back against the harmful, divisive, fascist Adams and Trump agenda is why we're all here. And I was with Jews for Racial Economic Justice, JFREJ, and I'm inspired by the way in which New Yorkers are showing up, because that's what we do. New Yorkers show up for people. We show up for folks who are abandoned by our government. And so I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to keep coming back, because we're not gonna normalize this. We're not gonna normalize this. We must protect our city. I have a piece of legislation that would strengthen Sanctuary City, that would allow for recourse. Right now, there's no recourse if local law enforcement is colluding with ICE agents. We don't work for ICE. So we need to pass the New York City Trust Act, legal services, and my colleague already mentioned New York for All. There are incredibly important legislative priorities that need to pass now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, a few more things to conclude. So first, what brought attention on Tuesday was when ICE agents arrested me. And it is true that part of creeping authoritarianism is arresting senators and arresting mayors and arresting controllers. But honestly, what is going on in there every day ought to ring alarm bells for every single American. I just want to make sure people understand what happened about a month ago is that the federal government, the Department of Homeland Security, just tried to change the rules on how you exercise your right under international law to seek asylum. It had never been before that expedited removal was a process that took place in these buildings. That did not happen before a month ago. And because Donald Trump wants more deportations, they have issued orders to rip people's legal status right out from under them. When they dismiss these cases, that's what they are doing, is ripping people's status away. They essentially become non-persons, and it is now happening every day in the form of family separations and in the form of removals, and every American ought to be concerned about it. And so what can we do? There's a few things we can do. First, I urge people to join and register with Immigrant ARC or with one of the other organizations out here, Make the Road or Just for Racial and Economic Justice, and just come bear witness. The judges do. It matters when people are in the courtrooms. Almost the vast majority of people we have seen don't have lawyers. They don't know what their rights are. They don't speak English. They don't know what is going on. And a small amount of opportunity to let people know what their rights are and provide a little bit of human comfort matters a lot. When the judges know people are watching, hopefully they're a little more likely to think about what folks' rights are. And in a few cases, we've been able to at least connect people with some resources. So I mentioned this family from Liberia, this mother and kid. They thought they had a private immigration attorney, but their attorney didn't show up. I don't know what would have happened to them today. Thankfully, we were in there, and the Make the Road legal director was in there, and they've got a continuance till December. Edgardo, who I walked out, who I was detained at the same time on Tuesday. We are working to connect his family to legal counsel so that 1 month appeal opportunity that people are supposed to have, he has with a lawyer that his family can find and connect him, because we were at least connected to him. Most people who have had the same thing happen don't have a lawyer, don't have anyone to connect, don't have anyone to help their families find them. But if we do this together, we can increase the possibility that they do. I'll underline what all three of these elected officials said. Getting people legal representation is critical. It's a kangaroo court if you don't have a lawyer and you don't speak English and your rights are being ripped out from under you and there's no one there to help you with it. But having a lawyer matters, because I want to tell you about 2 cases I witnessed that were virtual. The same thing, though. Government moved to dismiss their cases and strip them of status. In those 2 cases, the individuals had a lawyer. The lawyer opposed the dismissal motion, and then DHS dropped it. So I saw it today right before my eyes. If we get people lawyers, it can make a difference in enabling them to pursue their asylum claims. So I was glad to stand here with Governor Hochul on Tuesday when she announced $50 million in new state funding, and proud to be working with Councilmember Hanif and Councilmember Caban and Councilmember Aviles to try to secure another $170 million in New York City money. The mayor, whose name I'm trying to get out of my mouth, but if he wants to, I'd be very happy for it to be about me. Mayor, provide the $170 million in legal resources that the city council is asking for. So Edgardo has a lawyer, and Zed has a lawyer, and Marilyn and John have lawyers. You want to stand up and protect New Yorkers? Here is an opportunity. Provide the resources so that people aren't in these courts without legal counsel, and they've got lawyers to defend their rights, to bring those appeals, to oppose the dismissal motions. That's what it would look like to protect and defend New Yorkers right now, and we are demanding that the mayor join the council in getting that done. And finally, I'm just going to speak really honestly. We have to find ways to gum up the works of this hideous system. And today did not feel like that to me. I'll be honest, watching those folks get just kind of ripped away. It feels like letting this deportation machine roll. And we quote that Niemöller poem over and over again, but it's time for people to stand up and say we aren't going to allow that deportation machine without due process to roll over people's rights, and we are going to have to, in the tradition of nonviolent witness bearing and resistance, find more and better ways not to allow our democracy to be eroded, not to allow people's rights to be trampled, not to allow due process to be disappeared. And I think it is on all of us. We tried our best today to be useful to these families in these courtrooms. We tried our best today to call attention to a travesty taking place in our so-called immigration justice system. But we are not getting it done right now, and I would just ask more people, join us, stand up. This is about these families, of course, but it's about a lot more than that. It is about the rule of law and our democracy, and we got to find better ways to stand up for it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, everyone, we're going to
The on-topic question is, if you said the other day after you were arrested that New Yorkers want a mayor who will stand up and fight for these immigrants' rights, you also just acknowledged that it's not working right now. So what would you say to New Yorkers who might think, well, maybe the Cuomo technique would work better, which is to call Trump and ask him to back off? Right.
The Cuomo technique, as far as I understand it, is just like you finger poke someone in the chest a lot. Or you don't even actually finger poke them in the chest, you like in the air.
He has said that he successfully has called up Trump and had him back off. So what would you say to that as a better technique to slow this process down?
Well, first, Andrew Cuomo, so far as I know, has not one time criticized the mass deportations taking place. He could get his body down here and put it on the line. He could call on President Trump right now if he's got some magic powers from their bro days, like being invited to each other's bachelor parties. Then he could get Edgardo out, and he could get the three individuals out that just like I'm challenging Eric Adams, put up the 170 million. Andrew Cuomo, if you've got some technique that could help these families that we were trying to help, how about today?
Yeah.
First, tell your super PAC to stop putting up hideous, hateful ads, and second, do them in the reverse order. First, get these families out. So, I mean, and then look, you saw him on the stage call call folks illegal immigrants. He has no interest in standing up and protecting New Yorkers. He imagines it all as like gorillas poking each other. So, look, there are things we can do, and the legal services are the first ones. These families could have had lawyers before they came. Honestly, the two folks who got their cases undismissed were virtual. So, I mean, if we were reaching out through the network of schools and hospitals and shelters to help connect people to attorneys, probably their cases would have been virtual, and those three guys would still be in their communities and with their families. So, a mayor who's not just who doesn't just stand up and fight, but who creatively uses the resources and networks of the city and puts money on the ground can protect a lot more New Yorkers. And yes, that is what I will do.
Since you just brought up the super PAC.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went off topic, Chloe. Hang on, let's wait.
But Cuomo's people said, how can he tell them to take the ad down when you criticized him for coordinating with the super PAC? So he's not supposed to tell them to do anything, right?
He's allowed to say publicly, I think all super PACs should stop using hateful ads. And look, I mean, he already was found to have coordinated. So, if he valued people's safety over his own election, he wouldn't worry so much about, whether the CFB will find him again. But yes, he can communicate publicly and say all super PACs should cease and desist hateful ads that might provoke violence at this time.
Great. And back to on topic. Yeah.
Will you change your actions when you're up there now after you went through this on Tuesday? Or are you fully prepared to go through the same thing again?
It's a really good question. I'll just be fully honest. I don't feel like I did enough today. And I'll have to decide for the next time I come back what I'll do. And I'm just being really honest about it. And I mean, I guess I think there is a movement rising right now of people that want to engage in nonviolent resistance against what's happening and what the tactics are that we use. You probably read in the article that Immigrant Arc said they don't recommend that people get in the way, but that she wasn't going to tell an elected official how to protect New Yorkers. And to me, it's a very open question.
Could I add to that really
Please.
briefly? I think also, when you're there, you're trying to balance several things, and you want to take action that's going to be helpful. And so, depending on who's in the room and where, and who's got what language skill, or like making sure that somebody gets the A number or copies of the paperwork or can take down contact information. Like in those moments, you have to also decide, what are the top priorities, and whether it's gathering information or putting your body in the middle, and those are just like in the moment.
And I mean, I'll just add, to the extent that what I hear in your question is like, should volunteers be here to observe and bear witness to removals that strip people's rights? Or should volunteers come down here and put their bodies more on the line and try to gum up the works of this immigration machine by seeing what would happen if there was mass civil disobedience? I think it is a really important open question. I don't have an answer for you today, but I'm proud to be amongst a whole lot of volunteers showing up to try to figure it out. Sorry.
In Spanish about what you saw upstairs and what can be done to help?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to. I'm sorry.
do your best.
Bad
No, I
New
mean, don't
Yorkers.
have to,
Ya, lo siento que mi español no es perfecto, pero yo vi una.
What?
do you want to just do one-on-one?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Do you want to do that one on?
Yeah,
you
we could
could
do
do
it on.
it.
We could do it one-on-one. Yeah, I'll do my best. Yeah.
Okay. Any other on-topic questions? Yeah, Kelly.
Well, I mean, the core goal is to be helpful to individual families. We have people walk in this building who don't have lawyers and have no idea what is going on. And so volunteers with JFREG and Immigrant Arc and Make the Road have some know your rights information and try to tell people before they go in. So first of all, object if they move to dismiss your case, right? So if you go in and the first thing you hear is, we're moving to dismiss your case, just like Dylan Contreras did, I think without advice ahead of time, most people would say, oh, that sounds good. So first, and they don't have lawyers, so it's a little bit of pro se information. Object to the dismissal. If you're in a couple, ask for your case to be joined and not severed. And we've seen situations where judges denied the motion. I mentioned this guy Abu Bakr from Algeria, I guess it was just last week, but three visits ago. And in that case, the judge listened to him and denied the government's motion. And I think it mattered that he had been advised before he went in to object to the dismissal, to ask the judge to listen to his credible fear. So there's like, know your rights so that people can do a better job of speaking up. And that matters in some cases. Second, I mean, my wife is sitting with a woman, a pregnant woman whose husband was just ripped from her, trying to figure out how to console her and help her figure out what the hell she is going to do to try to get her husband back, but also try to live here without him in the meantime. And my daughter is with this other family with the baby who like had a panic attack in there, making sure they'll have a lawyer next time they go. And this is not about me or Marek or Meg or Rosa, but dozens of volunteers are active today, trying to help individual families know their rights, avoid their cases from being removed, and help them connect to resources, because we don't have enough immigration attorneys. Last week we had a family that was given 1 week to come back and present their credible fear. So we are part of a network of volunteers providing information and support to individual families who desperately need it, and that is important. And we are trying to bear witness to and call bullshit on and gum up the works of a corrupt deportation machine. And we haven't figured out how to do that yet, but we are only just getting started.
Can I just add into just like the public, like the elected official psyche, right? Like, just as we're public servants. Brad is a public servant. I was a public defender on the front lines doing that work, and I decided to run in large part because I wanted to make larger systemic change, because it felt like I was beating my head against the wall. And then you get here and you're trying to make this systemic change and you're doing the best you can, and then you witness these things happen, and then you're like, well, I wish I was on the front lines again, right? And like, it's this push and pull of wanting to be able to have an impact however you can. And there is power and privilege in being an elected and having an opportunity to do that systemic change. And I gotta tell you, there is meaning and power in connecting with one individual doing direct service work. And I think that like we do this work with our hearts. And so I would venture to guess that Brad does it for those reasons, and that's why they do it, and that's why I do it.
Wait, Kelly, we're gonna save off topic. I let Sif, but I'm not gonna do that for everyone. Sorry, can we go back on topic? Yes, Emma.
Anyone that was in the courtroom for the third arrest explain what happened?
Were you in there for
Which
that
individual?
third?
It's the man from New Guinea.
No, the one after that.
The couple?
I thought the New Guinea
I thought the
was
third was
That
the man
I'm
from
pretty
New
sure
Guinea.
that
I
is
think was the
New
third.
Guinea. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the person who. Are we talking about the person who had an attorney but it was virtual?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, this is what she's
Okay,
talking about.
okay,
So go ahead,
yes.
because you were in the room
Yes.
and I was not.
Yeah, so and that's what I talked about earlier. There was a gentleman from New Guinea, obviously seeking asylum, feared persecution, and he had an attorney who appeared virtually. So physically in the courtroom was the DHS attorney, the judge, and the respondent, this gentleman from New Guinea. His attorney was appearing virtually on his behalf. There was no interpreter to be able to explain anything to him. So, the problem with that is that his attorney is also not able to explain those things to him because of the language barrier. So that's when they had the exchange where DHS's attorney moved to dismiss the pre-existing case. The respondent's attorney opposed it, made their legal argument, and that is when then the judge asked DHS, do you have anything else you want to say? And they just said, circumstances have changed, and this is not, keeping him in this country is not in the best interest of the United States. And the thing I think that's important in pointing out there is that there was no articulation of what those circumstances were, and why, in fact, removing him or any of these other individuals would be detrimental to our country and the people who live in it.
And I just want to add, this is a case where they said, what is your preferred language, which was not English. And at the end of the journeying of the case, the man sat in the chair and had no idea what happened. And literally a worker had to go and tap him on the shoulder and say, you're done. And that to me is a grave injustice, that this person had no idea what just happened to them. And the language access services were not provided. And again, there was no articulation of a true case for why this person should be deported.
I want to make a point here that has been struck me that I just like, in a courtroom, right, you've got a defendant and something happens at the end, and in the justice system such as it is, like if a defendant is found guilty, then at the end of the case, the bailiff comes and gets them. Like, what the hell is it where your case is dismissed? You're sitting in the courtroom, you don't even know where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do, but then other agents of the maybe they are other agents not wearing uniforms, you don't know if they're even connected to the court, are lurking in the elevator lobby. Like, I just think we should pay attention to the things here that are an erosion of the rule of law. If they want to process people, then have the judge tell the person what happened and have a bailiff come and explain to them what is going on. And I wouldn't think that was justice, but at least it would be some form of due process. Like, what the hell is a system that dismisses your case, leaves you sitting at a table with no representation, except there's agents of the government lurking in masks in the hallway to disappear you? Like, let's not normalize this. It is not normal.
Yeah, okay. Yes?
Yeah, I wanted to know if you had any details about the family that was separated, where they came from.
They're from Ecuador. Their names are John and Marilyn. I don't know if they're named after John Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn is sitting in a coffee shop with my wife currently, trying to figure out what the hell to do. She's pregnant. John
was ripped from our arms. He was ripped, like we were literally arm in arm, all of us, and ambushed. And the word is ambush, by men with masks up to here, and just tore him from us. And that's what we witnessed. As his pregnant wife sobbed. Think about that.
We have their paper.
Yeah, we can get it for you. There's volunteers writing down all the information, trying to make sure that we can then go find them subsequently. Like I said, we were able to connect with Edgardo's family and connect them to a lawyer, and people are trying to do that in as many of these cases as we can.
Brad, can you please reiterate how people can volunteer to bear witness?
Yeah, many choices. So Immigrant Arc is who I've been with the 3 previous times, but they were not there today. So you can sign up with Immigrant Arc. You could sign up with Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, and Make the Road New York and New York Immigration Coalition also are seeking volunteers.
Yeah. Kelly? Okay, my own.
Yeah. All right. Now we're off topic.
You asked for the ads to be taken down. Why?
mean, yesterday, Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani and his family received death threats that echo the language of the Cuomo Super PAC ads. And I mean, I've been very clear kind of all throughout this campaign, like, let's turn the temperature down. We have seen people attacked in recent weeks in this country, and it's on everyone right now at this moment when tensions are high to do all we can to turn the temperature down. And if Andrew Cuomo cares about Assemblymember Mamdani's safety and the safety of his family, there's just a very simple thing he can do, which is stand at a public microphone. Doesn't have to speak directly to his super PAC. I suspect he does on the regular, but he doesn't need to do it that way. Stand in public and say, let's have everyone take down ads that use demonizing rhetoric. You know, if he wants to go back to criticizing me for being from St. Louis, put up an ad that speaks to that. I'll be fine with it. You know, we only got a few more days till this primary. This future of the city is on the line. I hope he will call on his super PAC to take those hideous ads down.
Any other questions on or off from the reporter?
I'll come talk to you guys after the presser, but yes, we do that. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks team.